Welcome to Enemy Spotlight, where we talk about some of the unique baddies throughout Chrono Trigger. And we're starting with a classic. The species we're going to explore today comes in at a whopping 10 on the cuteness scale, if you ask me. And despite this, has a rather unfortunate position on the monster hierarchy in Guardia. I am, of course, speaking of the Roly species. These guys are so damn adorable it hurts. They're big chonkers with tiny arms and feet, perfectly sized for when they tuck them in and roll up into a little ball for quick travel. And just look at that face. Look at it! How could you hurt that little guy? Who would want to? Anyway, let's begin with the first form of these rock and rollin' dudes, the Roly. Our first interaction with the green variant is in Truce Canyon, 600 AD, where we see the poor fella being used as a soccer ball by two blue imps. Obviously, this wasn't the Roly's idea, as you can see his little vacant eyes turning to X's as this happens. Despite how awful it is, this torture is actually part of a strange ecosystem between the imps and Rolys of Guardia. Allow me to explain. Not only do we see these two buttheads beating up on our balled-up friend in the mountains, but later, in Guardia Forest, we actually see the imps have also made them into personal steeds. On the one hand, taking these little innocuous, fat doofs and turning them into mounts is cruel and should be frowned upon. On the other hand, I want one! They also seem to have the ability to burrow, as they pop out of the ground at some points to ambush you. Either that, or the imps themselves buried them to set this whole thing up. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, considering. Anyway, as I said, this is all part of a strange coexistence, as the next form, the Poly, seems to come about as a direct result of this torture. These are the brown ones we see on our way back up to the gate in Truce Canyon, and they're far more aggressive than their green counterparts. According to the Chrono Trigger wiki, Rolys become Polys due to mistreatment by the imps of Guardia. We no longer see the imps kicking them around and riding on them in this form, likely because it's too dangerous. Which is just sad, man. Look what they did. Look what they did to my baby boy. Does that look like the face of a killer to you? How could they? You see only one of these outside of 600 AD, in the present Guardia Forest, running around in circles seemingly without direction. However, when you approach this one, he flips out and bangs his head into a tree before fleeing the scene. Oh, I'm sorry, little bro, I didn't mean to spook you. The next form we see is the aptly named Roly-Poly in the Hecarim Cave. It's unknown if this is a continuation of their evolution or perhaps the offspring of a Roly and Poly, which produces a new form. They travel in packs and, unlike the others, don't seem to ever come out of their ball form, simply rolling in place. Their behavior is similar to the previous types, only attacking by throwing themselves at you, but that's if they even get the chance. Although traveling in a group may be safer in the Hecarim Cave when dealing with predators, Roly-Polys did not seem to account for the area of effect texts like Cyclone and Antipode. Once again, our bulbous buddies get the short end of the stick, yet none of them have quite as unfortunate of a life as our next and final iteration of their species. The Roly Bomber has to have the most tragic existence of this entire line of creatures. You can find them exclusively rolling along the stairs and walkways of Magus's castle, likely loosed by one of his cronies from the top floor and forced to keep going until colliding with an obstacle, namely Chrono & Co. Roly Bombers are so named because as soon as they are even touched, they explode, damaging anything in the nearby area, including themselves. Now, if this is a natural defense mechanism brought on by evolution, it's pretty counterproductive. That's why I'm almost certain that Roly Bombers are more likely to be a creation of magic infusion by Magus, or perhaps even Flea. That means that not only are Rolys tortured by imps, but are just tortured in general. Imagine the offspring of such a creature, a little cute baby Roly Bomber. You go up to goo it, and you're dead, it's dead, its parents are dead. Aw, I made myself sad. All these guys probably do have families, born in Guardia's forests and canyons, content to roll around all day in pure happiness, until they come of age and the imps start their cycle of torture once more, or they're kidnapped by Magus's henchmen and injected with nitroglycerin for dubious ends. Screw the imps, man. Screw Magus. We can no longer turn a blind eye to this injustice. You've done it, I've done it. Running by while the two imps in Truce Canyon kick that poor defenseless fatty back and forth, not even giving it a second thought. Well, no more. I'm starting a movement right now. Hashtag Save the Rolys. There are no marches, no sign-ups, no petitions. If you want to be a part of this grand undertaking, there is only one thing I want you to do. The next time you run through Truce Canyon and see this abuse taking place, don't just ignore it. Jump in there. Take down the imps and then get out of there. Leave the Roly in peace. Don't feel bad if he tries to attack you once or twice. He's scared. It's to be expected. Just take the hit and run away. If even one of our little friends survives to return to his adorable, tiny, balled-up family, we've succeeded. We spent the whole game trying to save the future of humanity. Maybe if we do this enough, we'll give this poor subjugated species one to look forward to as well. Now, let's get rolling!